Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and welcome to part 2 of our Krusty Krab pub. Now I'm going to do amendments like dartboards and so on at the end, but first of all, let's start with the stuff we're going to put outside. So onto the outside area, so putting this to one side for a moment. I did want to tile the whole area and put in some tables and chairs and so people enjoying themselves outside. But as many of you will know, I've not got many tiles left, having used virtually all of the ones I have on the main station. And unfortunately, Lego's got, well, staffing issues at the moment for obvious reasons, and getting new ones isn't going to be quick or easy. So I've decided to make do with what I can. And what I do have a lot of is 1x1 tiles in round in light bluish grey, and I've still got some 2x2 square ones. And I thought that this sort of irregular pattern, well, it's not irregular really, is it? It's regular, but asymmetrical, let's say, pattern is quite interesting and will give a bit of contrast on my streets anyway. So I quite like that. These are just so I can have people standing up on certain areas, but otherwise it will look like this bit over here. And then I thought I could have some sort of red stools for the beer tables, which be using a dark brown round 4x4 plate. And the reason why some of these seats have got a tile on top is because that one will be one without somebody sat on it. And if you use a 2x2 plate, then you can have somebody sat on it and they will be attached, but they'll look kind of the same. So that's my sort of thinking for what the pavement will look like outside the Krusty Krab. Now, a few other things that I want to do. One, the original set had this sign to say enter, and it's just sort of a sign beckoning you in. So I've sort of mounted that onto a modified brick and so on, but I wanted it to be double-sided, and I did have a second one. So I've done a bit of minor sticker surgery and got another sticker that I've chopped, if you look very carefully, into 3. You can see that? There's a little join at there, a little join there. And that's because I wanted them both to point the same way, because otherwise if you made it two-sided, one would be pointing that way and the other one would be pointing that way and wouldn't make much sense. So this way I've got one where both sides are pointing here, so I can put it pointing into my pub. Now, I think from a distance, that sort of sticker surgery looks quite good. If I deliberately allow you to see the join lines by using the light, you can see what I've done. But I think dead on, that looks all right. So anyway, I'm going to use that. And then the Krusty Krab set 3825 had the big, large Krusty Krab sign on kind of a clamshell on a stick, and I thought I would do the same because I had bought 2 of the Krusty Krab signs. So I've done this, which is pretty much the same as theirs, with different coloured post and so on, but the same white pieces. I've also added a couple of pieces to sort of represent a pearl inside this clam, and that 1x3 tile almost to represent the actual clam itself, the sort of meaty bit, if you will. And I've got 2 of these really nice old arrowed tiles to kind of point into the pub. So depending on where I put this, I'll have them pointing in the right direction. I'm not sure whether to have this kind of looking at the back of this, which is pretty ugly, so the sign is facing all the road users, but probably I'll have it sort of this way round, you know, pointing at it, so the pedestrians passing by will be under no illusions of where the Krusty Krab is. Not that they could miss it, but hey ho. So that's going to fall over again, so I'm going to pop that down. So I've got a great big collection of chairs. I've got quite a few tables. I've got a little bag of pints of lager, so they're just 1x1 round bricks with the white round tile on the top for the head. And I can even use some clear, which I think I've got stuck on one of these, yeah, a clear one to show an empty as well. Right, lots more stuff. So, for staff, I thought I would have this guy being the Season 8 or Series 8 Lederhosen guy. And he's got a fantastic taste in hats, hasn't he? Yeah, I mean, that's the sort of hat a real legend would wear. Anyway, so he's wearing his Lederhosen and bringing out 2 beers. So I didn't think he'd be a patron. I think he'd be part of the staff. And therefore, as a result, I really have to include the Pretzel Girl from Series 11, also bringing out beers to thirsty patrons with her lovely braided hair. And just because I've got 2 of those, I thought I'd have 2 Pretzel Girls bringing out beer. And I've just changed the hair on this one, so there's a bit of variety, but I've kept them both blonde, so they look fantastic. Right, there's another table with some beers on. And then I've got a bin, which I thought would be out the back, because there's going to be some pavement area round the back near the road edge. And I also thought I could use this, which is a 2x2 round tile, which is supposed to be sort of foliage. It's used on a lot of elf sets, including 41175 Fire Dragon's Lava Cave. But I thought it almost looked like somebody had overindulged, and perhaps just round the corner from the pub, we could have a patron sort of leaning over that, much like we have on the beach. Not that I want everyone to be drinking far too much, but, it does happen on a bank holiday when there's a bit of sun. So, yeah, I think I might use that. And then as for the actual patrons, to start with at least, I thought I'd have this guy, who's the Season 6 Highland Battler. And he's not very appropriate, given he's sort of wearing very sort of historic clothes, but it's all tartan. And I thought a kind of angry-looking Scottish guy drinking his lager on his own might be quite a fun little scene. And there's nowhere else I can use this guy particularly, so that is a good idea. And then for the main gathering, I thought I would have a bachelor party, or as we call it in the UK, a stag party. And this can use up a lot of very hard to use series minifigures, because I'm trying to use as many as I can, but some you just think, where on earth would they be in real life? So usually on a stag or bachelor party in the UK, people dress up in silly costumes, act silly, and try and have a great time. So I've decided the stag, or groom, as we call it in the UK, in this group is wearing a chicken suit. And they've tried to embarrass him yet further by making him wear a sort of ballerina's tutu dress. But he's not alone. All of his fellow friends are wearing costumes too. So we've got the Series 12 Piggy guy, who's having a lager, and he's looking pretty happy in his pig suit. We've got the Series 13 Hot Dog Man, who's also joining in the fun. We've got the Series 15 Shark Suit guy, who obviously can't hold a beer, so he'll have to have one sort of on a table very nearby, but I love that one. I mean, you could put him outside an aquarium or something, I suppose, but these are all quite hard to use. Then I've got the Series 17 Corn Cob guy, with his big tash. Great fun. I've got the Series 18 Cowboy Costume guy. I mean, how else am I going to use him unless he's on a stag party? Ooh, no, he's not standing up. And then the most indulgent of all of them is the Series 18 Elephant Suit girl. No, guy. I've changed the head. Boys only on this party. So he's standing on a table because he's enjoying himself perhaps a little bit more than he should. So there we go. So I reckon this big table, him looking across disapprovingly at the noise they're all making outside, and these guys working very hard to bring them an endless stream of beer. So I think that will be a great scene, if I can cram it all in. Now, the last thing to mention while we're down on the building desk is to talk about mounting things on a diagonal angle. Now, you could obviously have this whole building being loose, but obviously it's going to move around and be a bit annoying. You could put in sort of studs to kind of hold it in place by surrounding it, but that doesn't look that great either. So you can actually mount things on a diagonal angle by making use of the mathematical phenomenon that is the 3-4-5 right angle triangle. Whoa, slow down. Yeah, I'm getting complicated. Sorry, maths. So basically, if I mount this stud on the corner one, and I want to align this at an angle with this and have the two connected, there's only a few different spacings you can use, but the most easy one is using the rule of 3-4-5. And what that means is if I go 1, 2, 3, 4 along, which would be there, but then 3 back, so there. So you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I'll just take out that midpoint because these are the two we're interested in. Then that distance is exactly 5. And you can see I can fit on my plate onto my base plate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can do that again. So we can have multiple touch points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And therefore we can have 3 connection points. Like that. You see it's very easy to put on. And now this is held in place. And we can go that way as well. So basically when I mount this, I'm going to have, I don't know, half a dozen of those in that configuration, holding this building very firmly in place. And it will be at a very pleasing angle of not quite 45 degrees, but not too far off it. So I think that's really good. And obviously you could do it 3-4, 3-4, and then it'd be sort of slightly steeper. And I just think that's a really useful technique to know, because I can do that in the tile layer of the pavement as well. So when I do all my paving, like I showed you here, then it will be practically invisible. Okay, so we're back in the Lego room. And this is the City Garage set 4207. And that's where today's car of the day comes from. As part of that set. I've just popped it down here for now. And it's another sort of ordinary looking car, which I think we need quite a few more of to balance out all the sort of racing cars and limos and all sorts of things like that in our city. And this is where I'm going to place the building. So you can see I've put in the studs using that 3-4-5 technique. And if I bring in the lower floor of that, this is exactly where it will go and get pushed down. So I think that will look really good. I've had to move all the people of the seagull attack scene for now. I'll put them back, but possibly in a slightly different location. And you can see I've put this dark bluish grey stripe, just one in from the edge, and that will follow all the way along here. And it will sort of leap over the cutaway and join in with the one that we've got in front of our runner shops. And hopefully that will exaggerate the fact that this is just a cutaway here. It isn't actually a hole in the ground that people would fall in. So technically pedestrians could kind of walk from here straight over to here without any issue at all. So hopefully that looks right to you. It does to me. And then I've just started off with a couple of 1x1 rounds because that's where I'm going to start the pattern for the paving here. And then I can start arranging the tables and so on that I think for space and room purposes I'm going to have here as well. Maybe even the majority over there. But this is kind of quite a narrow area, so it's best to use that as well. So, good. So as usual, you have to go quite a long way back before you can make any forward progress. I've had to pull up quite a few things in order to do this. But now I've got the round ones in, roughly to there. I may go further, I haven't decided yet. And I've put those in just to give me a frame of reference, because in all the gaps, I don't know yet whether I want to put a 2x2 plate with a jumper on or a flat one or what. So I really have to plan all of my scenes at this stage and where I'm going to put my tables and so on. But one thing I have done is I've put the guy from the stag party who's in the pig suit standing over, well, yes, hiding sort of behind the other side of the bar, where his friends won't see him. So that's a pretty grim scene, but quite a funny one, I hope you'll agree. A bit near the fish and chip shops as well, so maybe he had some of that food earlier and he's regretting it. Anyway, it's firmly sort of held down in position, and I think I can start to plan things like having pretzel girls delivering beer. So, I better keep going. Right, so as you can see, I've started placing things. This will be the table set up for the drink-fueled stag party. And I've kind of left a passageway so people can still make their way past, sort of along here, around that corner, and in front of the Krusty Krab to these steps. So there's still a lot of space, but also it's pretty dense as well. But you know I like density from my beach, so that's all right. And this area I've sort of worked out from the corner. So I've got the artist with his easel, which I've decided to keep there because it's quite a good position for him. So I've built him onto some jumper plates and plates so he's held in place. And then done 2 tables. One with the Scottish guy drinking on his own. And an empty just on that table. And obviously 4 stools. So you can see you've got to sort of put in the big things and then kind of plan everything and work out what you need where. And then all the gaps that are remaining can just be tiled over and under the lip of the building. So it's all, yep, you guessed it, seamless. Yeah, so I think it's coming together pretty well. It'll be a nice area when this is done. Phew. Well, to say that took a long time is seriously understating it. Have to keep lifting this thing off and then putting in some tiles around the edge, putting it back, knocking over all the minifigures and so on. And I've got to keep them in place while I'm doing it so I know exactly where they're going to stand so we can get a good scene. Oh, but we are there. I've had to cannibalize all these tiles in order to do this area from absolutely every other area that isn't needing them just as badly because I just didn't have enough. Weirdly, I did have enough of these 1x1 round ones. I've literally got 2 left, so that was well planned, if indeed I did plan it. So I've got the rugby lads back with the seagull attack over here, and I've got the chips still being spilt, albeit now onto jumper plates and a 1x1 grey plate. I've got the 2 pretzel girls coming out with 2 beers each, and the lederhosen guy, 2 more, because these guys are really hitting it hard. And I have added another one, which is the giraffe suit guy from the Lego Movie 2 series minifigures. And it's a good idea because, you know, there's absolutely nothing I can do with a giraffe suit guy. And there's a llama suit person coming out in the series 20, which I should be opening very soon. And there's probably a lot more. I mean, there's that multicolored sort of Care Bear type bear from series 19 and all sorts that I could include in this. So it may be that this stag party grows in size, or maybe we'll have another contingent sort of on their way here from the station or something like that. That'd be quite fun, wouldn't it? But anyway, this is quite enough for now. And I've put that pillar in here so we can add our 3D Krusty Krab sign, and I've changed around the arrows so they're now pointing at the establishment itself. And I chose here, there was a couple of places where it could have gone, but I chose here because it actually is quite visible for us humans, which is very good. And also because it actually does us a favour in blocking out a lot of the black of this pillar here. So I'm very glad for that to be the case. Now, you may notice as well behind here, we've got a table full of empty pint glasses, all stacked up. And we've even got a bit of a queue of them for the stag himself. I've managed to get that entry sign in. and the Scottish guys over here, as I said earlier. So yeah, I've managed to squeeze absolutely everything I said I would in, but it hasn't been easy. So I guess the last thing is to put on the roof. Very easily done. And there is our finished Krusty Krab with massive stag party and outdoor seating area. I think it's looking pretty good. So let's get in closer on Shaky Hands Cam. We've got the artist there painting his impressionist picture of the beach. Must be quite an impression because it doesn't look like a beach. Then I've put one of the seagulls on this fence post just because they often perch on places like that when they're between attacks. And maybe that's what the Scottish guy there with his pint is grimacing at. We've got lots of vacant tiled chairs there. And I've reinstated the rugby boys scene in its entirety, and I think that's looking good. Then we've got the sign. Let's have a look at that. Saying enter and pointing in. One of our pretzel girls. A lovely decorated roof and sign. And it's nowhere near the tram line, so it's not going to interfere with that. And then we've got the party. Lots more beers being brought. There are all the empties. They are going to have sore heads in the morning. I think that looks like a fun scene. And the elephant guy is leaning quite back. He's in a very dangerous and precarious position, being right next to the road. So pretty unsafe there. But that looks fun. And as I say, I can add to that in due course. And while we're here, I did actually move the fish and chip shop sign again. So you can see it's just round that corner now. And I think that's even better. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So we can see that from all angles. So our scene is fairly complete, I think. And very dense, packed and stacked, just the way I like it. And maybe I'll add to it in due course. But do tell me what you think. Tell me what you think I should add or remove or improve. This area is starting to really shape up now. I mean, it's virtually connected here. I haven't got enough tiles. You'll see there's a couple missing there and along the road edge. But you can see it's starting to join up with the rest of civilization. I've still got this area underneath to do, which is very unfinished at the moment, so don't worry about that. But it will be some really fun underground scenes. And I won't say any more yet because I don't want to spoil it. But I'm pretty happy with today's work. It has taken an age. I'm very hot, but I'm very happy. Whoops, I thought I'd finished, but now I realise I haven't done any of the amendments you suggested from last time. And there were quite a few good ideas. The first was very simple, which was just change 2 of the yellow lights along the sign to orange ones, and that just gives it a bit more variety. Very simple and easy to do as well. A lot were about moving these beer adverts kind of down level with the other 2, but it just looks a bit too uniform, I think, and then creates a very sort of empty space on the top of the roof, especially if I did the other suggestion of bringing this sign down onto this surface as well. So I'm going to leave it as it is so it looks better for us to see, even if it isn't as realistic for people down here to see. And we do have our 3D sign over here, of course, as well now. So 2 other amendments I'm going to make are on the inside. And one is behind this screen. And it's a good idea because it's kind of making use of what was arguably a very redundant piece, being this third window behind the TV screen. And rather than it stare back at nothing and be completely wasted, we can put an advert there. So I decided to add this piece, an advert for Joe's Plumbing. Now that's from the set 70811, the Flying Flusher. And I really like that. So I'm going to have that facing the outside, obviously. Otherwise it would be blocked as well. And that will be covered from the inside by the screen. It will just be an advert for passing traffic. So I think that works really well. And I think you'll agree that's an improvement. I'll leave that off for a moment, because then the second change I want to make is just on this column. And it's a bit hard to do this one really, because I'm going to add a dartboard and there's no real safe place to put it, because I can't put it too near the screen, can't really put it too near the window. So I'm going to put it on this column. And although that's not crazy realistic either, maybe it's stored there when it's not in use, and maybe the screen gets rolled up and it gets moved somewhere more practical. But I'm going to add a dartboard, and this is using a sticker from the set Creative Ambush 70812. And that's another Lego movie set. They were quite good, those sets. So I think that's about the right height, isn't it? And it's visible, so yeah, we can see it from the outside. I quite like that, even though, as I say, it's not probably got the most room around it for throwing darts at. Okay, so those are your amendments. There were a couple more actually while I'm thinking about it, suggesting ideas for the side windows, and they included using some very new glass pieces from the Fiat 500, is it set? But basically they're just not going to fit on account of the way I've done the roof. I could switch it all around, but I don't mind having this unglazed. So there we go. Now, not that we thought that the tram was going to hit, because there's clearly quite a bit of margin between the two. I just got the idea that I would like to see the tram going by. Oh, here it comes. With the people through the windows. And the bikes on show. Yeah, that's looking good. Like it a lot. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome Lego videos. Do also remember to vote for my Lego ideas thing in the link below if you haven't already. We are almost halfway there. So your vote would be very much appreciated. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, I think I'll do another mock vehicle, just for a change. It's something I mentioned already that was going to be part of another build, but didn't get done due to time and all the rest of it, as usual. So I think I'll get on with doing that. See you then!